He came in with a plan. Black hoodie, unmarked bag, no smile, no small talk. The boy looked no older than 17, but his eyes were older, too old. He didn't look around much. Didn't need to, he knew exactly where he was going. Lane 7, closest to the exit, closest to the security camera blind spot, and far enough from the front desk so no one would hear what he was planning. But when he got there, someone was already in his lane. An old man, gray coat, soft hands, didn't even have a gun in front of him, just sat there, still, like he wasn't waiting for anything. And in that moment, everything the boy had planned, the list, the steps, the target, began to crack. Thank you for being here. Some stories don't need explosions to shake you. Sometimes, all it takes is one silent man in the wrong lane. If this one stays with you, tell us why in the comments. And if you'd like to walk again with Elijah Boone, you're always welcome here. Now let's take a closer look at what really happened. The place was called Gray Rock Range. Old building, smelled like oil and paper targets. Run by a former Marine named Gary Thornton, who looked like Santa Claus but swore like a mechanic. There were 8 lanes. Lanes 1-4 were usually taken by off-duty cops. Lanes 5 and 6, hunters and hobbyists. But lane 7 was different. No one liked it. Too cold, too close to the wall, echoed weird. And there was a crack in the ceiling right above it that leaked in the rain. People avoided it, but not today. Derek Lane stood in the lobby, one hand gripping the duffel bag. Inside were earplugs, gloves, and A38 his uncle had loaned him without asking why. He'd rehearsed this. Walk in. No eye contact. Request lane 7. 1 hour. He didn't want instruction, he wanted practice. Gary stood at the counter, sipping lukewarm coffee. Morning, kid. Derek gave a nod. Gary blinked. You've been here before. No. Name. Derek. He paused, then added, Lane. Gary chuckled. Lane wants a lane. Derek didn't smile. Gary looked over the computer. Looks like all clear, except lane 7. Derek perked up. I'll take it. Gary frowned. Actually, someone's already in there. Derek's head turned. Through the small glass slit in the lobby wall, he could just see the end of lane 7. There was an old man, seated. No weapon, just sitting. Gary said he didn't book it, just showed up. Didn't fire a shot in 30 minutes. Pause. Some folks come here just to think. Derek clenched his jaw. I'll wait. He walked to the back corner of the lobby away from the windows. Unzipped the bag. Checked the revolver. Loaded, not fully, just enough. He'd practiced the motion, close, lift, breathe, fire. He wasn't here for noise, he was here for certainty. 10 minutes passed. Still the old man didn't move. Gary shook his head. Strange fella, doesn't even wear ear protection, just sits there, quiet. Derek asked, he say his name? Gary nodded. Yeah, said it's soft, I think it was Boone. Or Bone, something like that. Derek stiffened, his fingers curled slightly. Boone. Yeah. Gary chuckled, like the frontiersman. But Derek knew that name, somewhere from somewhere. He glanced again through the narrow glass. The man hadn't moved. Still in lane 7, still seated. No gun, no target paper up, just watching the far wall. Derek looked down at his bag, then back at the lane, and for the first time, he wasn't so sure he wanted to fire the first shot. 2 men stood near lane 6. Regulars, tough builds, neon yellow ear muffs. Matching tattoos that didn't match the Constitution they quoted. They spotted Derek. Young, quiet, alone, perfect. First time, one of them asked. Derek nodded cautiously. The other smiled. Well, it's a damn good day to learn. They laughed, but it didn't feel warm. You hear cause of what's been going on, the taller one asked. Derek blinked. What? The man leaned in. World's boiling over. You don't see it, people soft, country weak, time's coming. The other added, you don't have to wait for permission, kid. You just have to know how to shoot straight. Derek didn't respond, but something in him shifted. The way they said it, like it was a mission. Like he wasn't just holding a weapon, but an answer. One of them nodded toward the glass. What's the old ghost in lane 7 doing? Praying. They laughed again. Derek said, he hasn't moved in an hour. The taller man sneered. Dead weight. People like that already gave up. Time to move over and let the next round take over. That sentence stuck. Time to move over. Derek looked at his bag. Then at the lane. Then at the reflection in the glass. Elijah Boone, still seated, still watching, he turned to Gary. Is he okay? Gary shrugged. He's been coming here once a year, same day, same hour, never shoots. Derek asked, what day is it? Gary looked down at the calendar. October 13. He looked up. You know what that means. Derek swallowed. He did, somewhere deep he knew. His dad had died on October 13, in uniform, overseas. He looked back through the glass. This time, Elijah was looking directly at him, not blinking, not smiling, just watching. Derek stepped away from the desk, walked to the entrance of Lane 7, didn't go in, just stood there, watching the man who refused to shoot. Elijah finally spoke, just one sentence, not loud, not soft, just right. What are you hoping to hit, son? Derek froze, not because of the words, but because of the word son. He hadn't heard that in years. The two men from earlier chuckled behind him. Just ignore the ghost, kid. But Derek didn't move, didn't turn, didn't answer the old man either, because he didn't know what he wanted to hit or why. Only that something in him hurt, and no bullet could fix it. Elijah stood, walked toward him, slow, measured, stopped just inside the lane's yellow stripe. He looked at Derek's bag, then into Derek's eyes, and asked, did your father ever tell you about the day he missed? Derek's heart dropped. How do you know my father? Elijah nodded once, because he was in Lane 7 once too. Derek stood still. The range behind him hummed, gunfire, laughter, earplugs being adjusted, but none of it reached Lane 7. Only Elijah's voice did. It was a dry morning, October 13, 2009. The village was silent, too silent. Elijah stared forward, but his eyes saw something no one else did. We had intel on an IED maker, a ghost, slipped in and out, never stayed in one place, always left a trail of smoke and shrapnel. He folded his arms. Your father, Mason Lane, was lead that day, sharp, disciplined, had a laugh that could cut through sandstorms. Derek swallowed. No one had said his dad's name like that in years. We rounded a mud wall, saw movement. A figure crouching near a satchel. Elijah blinked slowly. Mason didn't wait. Protocol said confirm. He aimed. Breath squeezed. Pause. When we reached the body, it wasn't a bomb maker. His voice cracked. It was a boy. Derek closed his eyes. He already knew what came next, but hearing it, it scraped something raw. He couldn't have been older than 10, dirty face, holding a paper kite. Elijah looked down. The satchel was just laundry. He sat on the bench. Mason didn't cry, not then. He just sat down, dropped the rifle, said, I killed someone tomorrow. Derek's voice was hoarse. Why are you telling me this? Elijah looked at him. Because you came here to fire something, and I need you to understand. Once that bullet leaves, you don't get it back. Derek turned away. I'm not my father. No, Elijah said. You're not, but you're carrying his silence. Pause. And silence can be louder than hate. Derek sat down, not because he wanted to, but because his legs didn't trust him anymore. I never blamed him, Elijah said. He died 3 weeks later in an ambush. He never forgave himself. Elijah paused, and before he left for that mission, he gave me one last request. Derek looked up. What? Elijah's voice turned to iron. He said, if my son ever holds a gun for the wrong reason, you stop him. Silence, this time deafening. I didn't come here to preach, Elijah said. I came to keep a promise. Derek stared at his bag. It looked so small now. Too small to hold everything boiling in his chest. He whispered, I just wanted to feel power. Elijah leaned in. Real power. He pointed to the lane. It's when you choose not to fire, even when every bone in you wants to. Derek said nothing, but his hands trembled. He reached into his bag, pulled out the revolver, set it on the bench, slow, intentional. Then he looked at Elijah. Do you hate me? Elijah shook his head. I see you. The revolver lay still on the bench, unloaded, unfired, but the weight hadn't left Derek's chest. Elijah sat beside him now. No lectures, no judgment, just silence. Derek finally spoke. My mom told me my dad died a hero. Elijah nodded. He was. Derek turned. You just said he killed a kid. He did. Pause, and he lived with it. Derek looked away. That's not the kind of hero I wanted to be. Elijah leaned forward. No hero ever is. Then from his coat, Elijah pulled out a small envelope. It was worn, corners curled, sealed with age. He held it out. He wrote this the night before he died. Derek took it hesitantly. What is it? Not official, not military. Elijah paused. Just Mason, trying to say what words never quite could. Derek opened the envelope. Inside was a folded photograph, torn along the edges, dusty. It showed a man in fatigues holding a baby him. Behind the photo was a small scrap of notebook paper, written in blocky, careful script. If I don't come back, tell Derek he doesn't owe me revenge. He owes himself a quiet life, one where no one has to clean his conscience. Derek read it twice, then a third time. Then he folded it and set it down on the bench like it was fragile. His voice cracked. Why didn't you give this to me sooner? Elijah's eyes darkened. Because I didn't know if you were ready to read it. And today, I didn't come here planning to. He looked over, but something told me. This was the day. Derek nodded slowly. I used to imagine he died saving a whole squad. Elijah smiled faintly. He saved one boy. Derek looked up. Who? Elijah pointed to himself, then back to Derek, and through me. You. The silence after that wasn't empty. It was full. Full of words they didn't need to say. Full of grief that didn't rot, just lived. And full of a kind of forgiveness that had no deadline. Gray Rock Range closed early that night. No alarms. No incident report. Just a quiet sign flipped from open to closed while the sky turned to ash. Derek walked out first. No rush. No bag. Just his hands in his pockets and something different in his step. Not lighter, but deliberate. Elijah stayed behind, alone again in lane 7. Same bench, same ceiling crack. Same wall with the faint chip in the middle. Gary leaned in through the doorway. You need anything, Boone? Elijah shook his head. Gary hesitated, then said softly, that kid looked different when he left. Elijah replied. Maybe for the first time, he saw the exit. Gary nodded and disappeared. Elijah looked down at the bench. There was a piece of paper folded once neatly in Derek's handwriting. He picked it up. Unfolded. Read, Lane 7 reserved. For those who choose not to. Elijah held the note for a long moment, then slipped it into his coat pocket, right next to the photo of Mason Lane and a baby boy. He stood, took one last look at the wall downrange, and left the bench empty, just the way it was meant to be. Some shots are heard, some are remembered, but the ones never fired, the ones that stay inside, those echo the longest. If this story found you today, if you've ever held something too heavy for your age, or carried silence that wasn't yours, let us know. Sometimes what you don't fire. Is the story worth telling? Share your thoughts below. And if you'd like to keep walking with Elijah Boone, subscribe. We'll be here quiet, still, ready.